Hello my fellow nerds and welcome to the Nerd Empire. I hope you all are having a fantastic day today, and I hope you all will enjoy today's reaction video. With that being said, let's get right into it, shall we? Alright, next one we got here is by The Grey Pilgrim. It is another Lord of the Rings video. And it's called What They Didn't Tell You About Saruman's Corruption. Now, I know nothing about the corruption of Saruman. I can't remember if this is true or not from what I heard, but I heard that Saruman was kind of jealous of Gandalf when they were still, not on Earth or not on Middle Earth. But let's find out about the corruption of Saruman.
Saruman the White, head of the White Council, leader of the Istari, the greatest of the 5 wizards sent to Middle-earth, greater in knowledge, in craft, in the power of persuasion than even Gandalf himself, trusted by elves, respected by men, revered by the wise.
He is both wise and powerful. Trust me, Frodo. You'll know what to do.
So how does this being, this master of law, this commander of authority, fall under the influence of the Dark Lord? You probably think it was the Palantir, that Saruman looked into the Seeing Stone, saw Sauron, and was simply overpowered. But that's only part of the story, because Saruman's fall didn't begin when he gazed into the Stone of Orthanc. It began long before that, in choices so small, so reasonable, that no one noticed until it was far too late. This isn't just about what happened to Saruman. It's about why it couldn't end any other way. To understand Saruman's fall, we first have to understand who he was before Sauron ever touched him. Before he was...
I can't remember the actor's actual name because it's been a long time since I've heard it, but he did such a fan-fucking-tastic job of this, of his role as Saruman. I don't think there's anybody that they could have gotten that could have done... Christopher Lee, thank you. I don't think there's anybody that could have done Saruman better than Christopher Lee. I mean, I didn't really know about Christopher Lee until Lord of the Rings, but I was surprised to find out that he was also a friend of Tolkien. And he spent, apparently, Sir Christopher Lee, thank you, he spent basically his last days watching Lord of the Rings. By the way, hello, Jaded.
Saruman the traitor, he was Curunir the White, and he wasn't second best, he was first. When the Istari arrived in Middle-earth during the Third Age, it was Saruman who led them, not Gandalf, not Radagast. Saruman held authority over all the wizards.
If I remember correctly, it was originally... Gandalf was originally supposed to be picked, was originally picked to be the one to lead the 5 wizards by their superior, but decided to turn down that role, and was Gandalf the Grey, and Saruman was chosen to lead the 5 wizards instead.
Chosen specifically because of his deep
I could be wrong. That's what I've heard. It was a while ago, though.
understanding of the enemy's devices, his mastery of ringcraft, his sheer intellectual power. The elves trusted him. The leaders of men sought his counsel. Even Galadriel, who saw deeper than most, acknowledged his wisdom.
I must see the head of my order. He is both wise and powerful.
In the books, Saruman isn't introduced as the stern, ominous figure we see in the films. He's legitimately wise, authoritative, yes, but also earned. He's the one the Free Peoples turn to when darkness stirs. He's the one who understands what must be done. And his mission was clear: guide the peoples of Middle-earth against Sauron. Not to rule them, not to command them, to guide them. For centuries, that's exactly what he did. In the book The Two Towers, Treebeard tells about Saruman before the betrayal.
They appeared first after the great ships came over the sea. But if they came with the ships, I never can tell. Saruman was reckoned great among them, I believe. He gave up wandering about and minding the affairs of men and elves some time ago. You would call it a very long time ago. And he settled down at Angranost, or Isengard as the men of Rohan call it. He was very quiet to begin with, but his fame began to grow. He was chosen to be the head of the White Council, they say.
Saruman wasn't second best, he was first, but Tolkien...
There's a great behind the scenes part on the DVD of Lord of the Rings where he has to correct Peter Jackson on how a person who's been stabbed sounds. And hello, Diabolical. Yeah, I actually remember that, Chen. Because he was in the military, he knows exactly how it sounds when how a person reacts and how it sounds when a person gets stabbed. And I actually saw the clip of Sir Christopher Lee talking about that. There's a story in the behind the scenes talking about Christopher Lee telling quite some of the... Yeah.
Makes something clear very early. Wisdom without humility is dangerous. Saruman's fall didn't begin with Sauron. It began with Gandalf.
And yet you did not have the wit to see it. Your love of the halfling's leaf has clearly slowed your mind.
Even in the early days, there was tension. Gandalf was patient where Saruman was calculating. Gandalf walked among the small and overlooked, hobbits, rangers, common folk, while Saruman sought the halls of power and the councils of kings. And Gandalf bore Narya, the ring of fire, given to him by Círdan the shipwright, not to Saruman, the head of their order, but to Gandalf. That mattered. In the books, Saruman doesn't just feel rivalry with Gandalf. He resents him. He resents Gandalf's influence, his effortless trust with others, his maddening insistence on hope over control. Nevertheless, Gandalf respected Saruman's authority. In the book The Two Towers, Gandalf mentions,
Saruman the White is the greatest of my order. Radagast is, of course, a worthy wizard, a master of shapes and changes of hue. But Saruman has long studied the arts of the enemy himself, and thus we have often been able to forestall him. It was by the devices of Saruman that we drove him from Dol Guldur. It might be that he had found some weapons that would drive back the Nine.
Because Saruman wanted order, not balance, not the slow, messy work of inspiring courage in free peoples. Order, certainty, power wielded by those wise enough to wield it.
The world is changing. Who now has the strength to stand against the armies of Isengard and Mordor?
And so Saruman began to lie. Not to Sauron, not yet, to the White Council. When Gandalf brought concerns about the necromancer in Dol Guldur, Saruman delayed action. He withheld information. Why? Because he had already begun searching for the One Ring himself, not to destroy it, to claim it. Saruman's first betrayal wasn't against Middle-earth, it was against truth. And once Saruman chose secrecy, he needed power to protect it. The Palantir...
The thing, when I was watching that part when they were having the council in the Hobbit series, the way he acted when he showed the, when Gandalf showed the Morgul blade, how Saruman acted and how it sounded like he was doing misdirection. It sounded very untrustworthy of how he was acting. So even in the Hobbit series, I was very wary of him. Power corrupts the age-old tale, yep. By the time in the Hobbits, Saruman had already been searching for the ring, yep. Yeah, as I just said.
of Orthanc was not a trap. It was a tool, a seeing stone, one of 7 crafted in the Elder Days, designed to communicate across great distances and perceive events far away. Saruman used it deliberately. He believed it would give him an advantage, knowledge his peers didn't have, insight into Sauron's movements, a way to stay ahead of the game. He believed he could outthink the Dark Lord.
A Palantir is a dangerous tool, Saruman. We do not know who else may be watching.
so he looked east, too far east, toward Barad-dûr. In the book, The Two Towers, Gandalf states,
"Now it appears that, as the rock of Orthanc has withstood the storms of time, so there the palantir of that tower has remained. But alone it could do nothing but see small images of things far off and days remote. Very useful. No doubt that was to Saruman, yet it seems that he was not content. Further and further abroad he gazed until he cast his gaze upon Barad-dûr. Then he was caught.
And Sauron looked back. Here's where the movies and the books diverge sharply. In the films, the Palantir is treated almost like a cursed object. Saruman gazes into it and is corrupted, dominated, turned into Sauron's servant.
Concealed within his fortress, the Lord of Mordor sees all. His gaze pierces cloud, shadow, earth, and flesh.
But in the books, it's more complex, more tragic, because Palantiri don't lie. They show truth, but they show what the viewer is ready to see, and what Sauron wants them to see.
The world is changing. Who now has the strength to stand against the armies of Isengard and Mordor?
Saruman saw Sauron's growing power. He saw the armies gathering in the east. He saw the inevitability of war, and he saw himself, wise, powerful, unmatched in craft, standing alone against the chaos. What he didn't see was the possibility that the small, the humble, the overlooked could change the outcome. The Palantir didn't corrupt Saruman. It exposed him. Saruman didn't become a servant that night. He became a rival. Sauron became aware of Saruman the moment he looked into the stone. In the book, The Two Towers, Gandalf mentions,
"But there is nothing that Sauron cannot turn to evil uses. Alas for Saruman, it was his downfall, as I now perceive. Perilous to us all are the devices of an art deeper than we possess ourselves. Yet he must bear the blame, fool, to keep it secret for his own profit. No word did he ever speak of it to any of the council."
But here's what the movies don't make clear. Saruman was not immediately enslaved. He wasn't dominated. He wasn't broken by fear or overwhelmed by dark magic. He chose. Saruman believed, genuinely believed, that he could play a deeper game, that he could pretend to serve Sauron, gain his trust, learn his plans, and then, when the One Ring was found, claim it for himself and replace the Dark Lord entirely.
Together, my lord Sauron, we shall rule this Middle-earth.
That line, spoken in the films, sounds like submission, but in the books, it's strategy. Saruman isn't bowing, he's positioning. In the movies, Saruman is Sauron's pawn, a servant doing his master's bidding. In the books, Saruman is a failed Dark Lord in waiting.
To stand against the might of Sauron and Saruman and the union of the two towers.
Notice the phrasing, not Sauron and his servant, not Sauron and his puppet, Sauron and Saruman. Two powers, two towers. From this moment on, Saruman's goal is no longer to stop evil, but to control it. And the first person Saruman tries to recruit into this new world is Gandalf. Saruman uses Radagast as bait, a message calling Gandalf to Isengard under the pretense of urgency and counsel. Gandalf comes because despite everything, he still trusts Saruman, and Saruman tries to convert him. In the book, The Fellowship of the Ring, Saruman says,
"The elder days are gone. The middle days are passing. The younger days are beginning. The time of the elves is over, but our time is at hand. The world of men, which we must rule. But we must have power. Power to order all things as we will, for that good which only the wise can see."
I was surprised to find out that it was Radagast that actually told Gandalf to go to Isengard. I thought he just went to Isengard of his own volition. I didn't know Radagast had any part in that. But I don't think Radagast intentionally betrayed Gandalf.
Saruman tries to convince Gandalf to join him.
"We may join with that power. It would be wise, Gandalf. There is hope that way. Its victory is at hand, and there will be rich reward for those that aided it. As the power grows, its proved friends will also grow, and the wise, such as you and I, may with patience come at last to direct its courses, to control it."
In the movies, this is a brief confrontation. Saruman offers power, Gandalf refuses, and he's imprisoned atop Orthanc. But in the book, books, it's a long ideological debate. Saruman lays out his entire philosophy.
Saruman basically tricked Radagast to do so. Yeah, Radagast, he does seem pretty easy to manipulate or trick, but he seems both easy and not easy to manipulate. To other wizards, we're not aware of his treachery at that point. The other wizards were not aware, okay.
The old ways are failing, the free peoples are scattered and weak. Sauron's victory is inevitable unless someone wiser takes control. They, the Istari, the bearers of knowledge.
Hang on, see. Saruman, Kurunus, LOTR, Morinatar, okay, Gandalf, Olorin, Radagast, Iwendil, and Palando Romenstar. It kind of sucks that we don't really know anything about the two blue wizards. I think he did it not knowing what Saruman was planning, unknowingly sending Gandalf into a trap. Yeah. Yeah, it really sucks that we don't know anything about the two blue wizards. I would have liked to have find out more about them, but apparently, from what I've heard, even in the books, not really much is known about the two blue wizards.
Must abandon their restraint and join with power. Not serve it, join with it.
We must join with him, Gandalf. We must join with Sauron.
Gandalf refuses. Not
Saruman was a trusted friend, so he had no reason to be wary. The blue wizard's journey took them to the far, far southeast. Yeah, I mean, as far as I'm aware, we know where their journey is supposed to take them, but pretty much, I think pretty much everything after that, we don't really know anything, because Tolkien never really wrote anything about them.
Not because he doesn't understand Saruman's logic, but because he understands exactly where it leads. Domination dressed as wisdom is still domination.
I gave you the chance of aiding me willingly, but you have elected the way of pain!
And so Saruman imprisons him, traps him atop Orthanc, surrounded by stone, cut off from the world. But here's the symbolism Tolkien builds in. Gandalf is freed not by strength or strategy, but by Gwaihir, the eagle, a creature of the natural world, unbeholden to towers or ambition. Saruman believed he had removed the one obstacle in his path, but Gandalf's refusal sealed Saruman's fate. With Gandalf gone, Saruman no longer pretends to be wise, only powerful. Isengard transforms. The gardens are torn up. The trees are felled. Forges roar day and
Hi, Lunar. I mean, if you were sent by a higher order, similar to sort of reference of, like, God, that he is the leader and worked with him for hundreds of years, makes sense they would sort of trust him easily. Yeah.
night, fed by the destruction of Fangorn's forests. Saruman breeds Uruk-hai in the caverns beneath Orthanc. Stronger, faster, able to move in daylight.
The old world will burn in the fires of industry. The forests will fall. A new order will rise.
It's a deliberate imitation of Mordor. Saruman looks at Sauron's methods and adopts them wholesale. Industrial warfare, environmental destruction, the creation of enslaved armies. In the Two Towers, Treebeard was saddened by actions of Saruman. He says,
He and his foul folk are making havoc now. Down on the borders, they are felling trees, good trees. Some of the trees they just cut down and leave to rot. Orc mischief that. But most are hewn up and carried off to feed the fires of Orthanc. There is always a smoke rising from Isengard these days. Curse him, root and branch. I think that I now understand what he is up to. He is plotting to become a power. He has a mind of metal and wheels, and he does not care for growing things except as far as they serve him for the moment. And now it is clear that he is a black traitor. He has taken up with foul folk, with the orcs,
But he tells himself it's different. He's not a servant of darkness. He's building a new order, a rational order, an order governed by the wise.
We will drive the
Hi,
machine
Delvanus.
of war with the sword and the spear and the iron fist of the orc.
The movies and the books align here, visually and thematically. Isengard becomes a mirror of Barad-dûr. Smoke, fire, legions marching in formation.
Sauron will use his puppet Saruman to destroy the people of Rohan. Isengard has been unleashed.
Saruman has become
Symbolism for the Industrial Revolution in the Black country where Tolkien grew up. Huh. These black integrators sounds about right.
exactly what he once opposed, and for a brief moment it works. His Uruk-hai march on Rohan, his voice sways kings, his power rivals that of any force in Middle-earth. Saruman stands at the peak of his strength, and just as he reaches it, everything collapses. The Ents come.
Saruman, a wizard should know better. There is no curse in Edelvish, Entish or the tongues of men, for this treachery.
Saruman has miscalculated. He saw the forests as resources, timber for his forges, fuel for his war machine. He didn't see them as alive. Treebeard and the Ents march on Isengard, and they do not negotiate. They do not pause. They tear down the walls, shatter the forges, flood the caverns. Everything Saruman built, every industrial
This is a
marvel,
great
every
scene.
calculated strategy is drowned beneath the wrath of the natural world. And Saruman is trapped, locked in Orthanc, powerless to stop it. But he still has one weapon left, his voice. In the book, The Two Towers, there is deeper explanation about the power of Saruman's voice.
Those who listened unwarily to that voice could seldom report the words that they heard, and if they did, they wondered, for little power remained in them. Mostly they remembered only that it was a delight to hear the voice speaking. All that it said seemed wise and reasonable, and desire awoke in them by swift agreement to seem wise themselves. When others spoke, they seemed harsh and uncouth by contrast, and if they gainsaid the voice, anger was kindled in the hearts of those under the spell. For some, the spell lasted only while the voice spoke to them, and when it spoke to another, they smiled, as men do who see through a juggler's trick, while others gape at it.
When Theoden and the forces of Rohan arrive at the ruins of Isengard, Saruman speaks from the tower, and his words are dangerous. In the movies, Theoden resists quickly. Saruman's influence is broken almost immediately, but in the books, it's far closer. Saruman's voice is described as hypnotic, reasonable, compelling. He nearly sways Theoden. He nearly convinces the king of Rohan that all of this, the war, the destruction, was a misunderstanding that can still be mended. It's Gandalf who breaks the spell, not with force, with moral authority. And in that moment, Saruman's last weapon fails. The voice that once commanded councils, that swayed kings and deceived the wise, it no longer works. Then Saruman loses his Palantir. In his rage, in his humiliation, Grima Wormtogue hurls something from the Tower of Orthanc. It's meant for Gandalf, an insult, an attack, a final act of spite, but it misses, and Pippin picks it up. The Palantir of Orthanc. In the book The Two Towers, it is mentioned.
He raised his hand and spoke slowly in a clear, cold voice. Saruman, your staff is broken. There was a crack, and the staff split asunder in Saruman's hand, and the head of it fell down at Gandalf's feet. Go, said Gandalf. With a cry, Saruman fell back and crawled away. At that moment, a heavy shining thing came hurtling down from above. It glanced off the iron rail, even as Saruman left it, and passing close to Gandalf's head, it smote the stair on which he stood. The rail rang and snapped. The stair cracked and splintered in glittering sparks, but the ball was unharmed. It rolled on down the steps, a globe of crystal, dark but glowing with a heart of fire.
The Palantir sounds pretty nigh indestructible.
Very object that connected Saruman to Sauron, that gave him his perceived advantage, that allowed him to play his deep game, it's now in the hands of the Fellowship. In the films, this moment is often glossed over, but in the books, it's crucial, because the moment Saruman loses the Palantir, he loses contact with Sauron. He can no longer communicate, he can no longer coordinate, he can no longer prove his usefulness.
Saruman, your staff is broken.
Gandalf doesn't just speak those words, he makes them true. He breaks Saruman's staff, strips him of his rank in the Astari Order, and leaves him locked in his tower. However, Gandalf still sees some use in Saruman's, and he makes an offer to come with them, but Saruman refuses out of pride. In the book, The Two Towers, Gandalf says,
"He will not serve, only command. He lives now in terror of the shadow of Mordor, and yet he still dreams of riding the storm. Unhappy fool. He will be devoured if the power of the East stretches out its arms to Isengard. We cannot destroy Orthanc from without, but Sauron, who knows what he can do?"
Saruman has lost everything. His armies destroyed, his fortress ruined, his influence shattered, his connection to Sauron severed. The moment Saruman lost the Palantir, he became useless to both sides, and Sauron does not forgive failure. The Nazgul fly toward Isengard. It's not stated explicitly in the text, but the implication is clear. Sauron has sent them to deliver a message, not an offer, not a rescue, a message of displeasure. Saruman is no longer an ally. He's no longer a rival. He's no longer anything that matters. He failed to secure the ring. He failed to hold Rohan. He failed to destroy Gandalf. He lost the Palantir, the one tool that made him valuable to Sauron's plans. And so, the Dark Lord abandons him. In the book, The Two Towers, it is stated,
But Saruman certainly looked in the stone since the Orc raid, and more of his secret thought, I do not doubt, has been read than he intended. A messenger has been sent to find out what he is doing, and after what has happened tonight, another will come, I think, and swiftly. So Saruman will come to the last pinch of the vice that he has put his hand in.
Even in his own twisted ambition, Saruman has been cast aside. He wanted to be a power alongside Sauron, perhaps even to replace him. Instead, he's nothing. From this point on, Saruman is not a Dark Lord. He's just a bitter shadow. Saruman is eventually released from Orthanc, not as a threat, but as an irrelevance, and he wanders. In the movies, his death comes swiftly. He's stabbed by Grima Wormtongue atop Orthanc, and he falls impaled on one of his own machines, a dramatic end for a dramatic villain. But in the books, Tolkien gives Saruman something far worse than a dramatic death. He gives him a slow, humiliating end. Saruman travels to the Shire, not as a conqueror, not as a lord, but as Sharky, a petty tyrant ruling over hobbits, enforcing small cruelties, clinging to the last shreds of control he can find. This is what the wisest of the Astari has become, a bully terrorizing farmers. And when the hobbits return, Frodo, Sam, Merry, Pippin, they don't fear him. They pity him. Wormtongue, broken and abused, finally snaps. He kills Saruman on the steps of Bag End, and then Tolkien writes the harshest line in all of The Lord of the Rings.
About the body of Saruman, a grey mist gathered. As a pale, shrouded figure it loomed over the hill. For a moment it wavered, looking to the west, but out of the west came a cold wind, and it bent away, and with a sigh dissolved into nothing. Frodo looked down at the body with pity and horror.
Saruman's spirit rises from his body, looks toward the west, toward Valinor, toward the Undying Lands, toward the place where the Maya came from, and a wind from the west blows it away, rejected. He is not welcomed home. He is not redeemed. He is rejected. Saruman, who once claimed to be of many colors, who declared himself ringmaker and wise, is left with nothing, not even the dignity of return. Even the valor will not take him back. This is Tolkien's final judgment on Saruman. Not death in battle, not a dramatic fall, but total spiritual emptiness. Saruman fell under Sauron's influence, not because he was deceived, but because he believed wisdom entitled him to rule. He didn't lose to Sauron's strength. He lost to his own pride. Every step of his fall was a choice: to hoard knowledge instead of share it, to seek control instead of trust, to believe that being the wisest meant he deserved to command the outcome. Sauron didn't corrupt Saruman. Saruman corrupted himself, and in the end, the wizard who thought he could outthink the Dark Lord, who thought he could master the ring, who thought wisdom placed him above restraint, was left with nothing. Not even the wind would carry him home.
Why the hell is
Saruman?
Damn. He was even rejected by by his own home. Well, he fucked around and he found out. Well, that is the end of this video. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, please make sure to give a like and subscribe. I post videos 3 to 5 days a week here. I also post videos over on my other channel for gaming as well, so please make sure to give that a look-see, see if you enjoy that as well. I also stream anywhere from 3 to 5 days a week as well. Links to all my social medias will be on my YouTube page. And with that being said, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.